I was down there before, walking around in that. You can see kind of where we are now. Well, I'm almost back to the car, so I just want to summarize like the important point about reinforcement learning, kind of like where I'm headed in terms of like what I'm trying to focus on. And what's so amazing about these techniques is that it kind of is able to act as a novel kind of probe of our world. It's like a new, fundamentally, I see it as like a new way of like accessing knowledge. Because in the case of these agents that can, I'm gonna again go back to the example of like playing these games, if they can go and reach up to a superhuman level of performance, it's like, I had watched the documentary where they had beat the world champion in Go using this agent. This extremely complex game, complete information strategy game that's just, the fact that they were able to do that, I think for one thing, it tells us that we, as a human race, we did not actually master that game. Like no one had actually gotten so good at that game that you can't get any better than that. Like it's for one thing, it's like it shows you how complex that game really is. And it's like by allowing an agent to get so good that it's like it can train, it can play more than any human has time for, basically, or has energy to do in their lifetime. So of course, it's like it unlocked certain strategies and things that it essentially hadn't been invented. It's kind of like the agent developed its own new technology, its new knowledge that was not given to it, that just came out of the process of training. And that is just so incredible to me, that idea that it's like a new way of even gaining knowledge that the agent can sort of teach us, something, just because it has become the expert. That's another thing. It's like there's just such a huge misconception and fear surrounding the whole subject of AI and like the popular culture, like, oh, it's gonna take over, and it's like it has a will of its own. It says, they consider it like, what if it turns malicious, basically? Like, what if it's ill intent? It's like, what I would tell these people, you don't understand. It's like, I heard a talk that somebody described it really well. She said, dealing with these agents is more like dealing with a force of nature than it's like dealing with an entity that like has a will, like a child or like an animal. It's more like dealing with a tornado it's just on a path towards your city, and it's not like it has ill intent to come and destroy your house. That's just the direction it happened to be going. So we're so far away from developing something which is like has any idea of like intention. It's not an entity. It's literally still a machine. It's a mathematical function. It has the inputs and outputs. It's as simple as that. There's no threat. The threat is on the danger of AI is not what will happen if it has a ill will or something. The danger is if you give something a lot of power. If we give this machine a lot of power and we haven't correctly specified what we want it to do, the risk is on the part of for us and being very, very careful about how you're specifying what you want this thing to do, because the machine will do only what you ask it to do, not what you meant it to do. That's what you have to remember. It's not something which is going to go do something that it wants. It's going to do exactly what you told it to do and nothing more. And that's where the danger lies if you give something, and that's for example, like with self-driving cars, like you give it the power to be responsible for your freaking life. That's a lot of responsibility that you're placing on. You better make sure that that thing really is actually safe. But you have to put multiple layers upon layers of safeguards to make sure that nothing bad is going to happen. Yeah. So I just want to close with that remark, and I think I've said a lot. I've gone through so many interesting topics today, and I'm really hoping and really optimistic and excited about the future of this this field. So I think I'm going to continue studying that, and I'm going to sign off for now, and hopefully I'll get back with some interesting results when I do some simulations or when I start figuring out how to actually play with this stuff myself. Okay, peace out.
Coming home again.